people coming over here to do trade, but we see a more sophisticated form of globalization today. So, but more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, is that we are part of a geo-eco-political system. We develop our economy, we develop our political system, but it is somehow also connected to other economy and also political system as well. So this is the context that we are placing. And today we are getting closer and closer. In those days, we have a concept, the first era was about nationalization, right? We were building our own identity. Each of the country was looking for their own identity. But today, we are now basically, more worldly in the sense, more international, more globalized, and we are connected, and we have to do that. We are interdependent on each other, and the concept is no man is an island. Today, to survive, we have to interrelate with other people. Now, let me just go through in terms of description of the system. I know, please indulge, please bear with me. Many of you would understand the definition, but let me just go through that again. A system is an organized collection of parts or subsystems that are highly integrated to accomplish an overall goal or specific purpose or function. Simple as that. And you can see, I mentioned earlier on, we start off from an individual, and this is very much of the learning organization, where the 5 disciplines are, espoused by, Professor Peter Senge. We start with an individual, we move on to team, and we move into department, organization, community, country, region, and global. So, in that big system, somehow we have to maintain that, balances. But not only that, this is very one dimension. In system thinking is that there is also a time dimension where we are evolving as we are basically interacting with each other. There is also an element of how we are moving into the future. So the challenges of organization today is that we have been talking about how to manage change. Right? We have always said that how do we manage change? But today, the question is that not only we need to master the way that we manage change, but we need to change the way that we change now. We need to change the way that we change. Many organizations are still grappling with change. But with technology, with speed, we now have to basically be very, sort of nimble. Huh? So this is the concept. So the description is that what are the characteristics of a system? Firstly, it is dynamic. Right? It is evolving all the time. It is constantly evolving. It is constantly changing. It is like life. Every day when we wake up, we are changing. We don't realize that we are aging, we are changing. We are in a constant, basically a state of change. Yeah? And systems, as we say, are made up of interconnectedness. So today more so because of internet, because of the technology. Look at the handphone. Now, symbolically, people say that, what will represent handphone to you? Can somebody help me? 10 years ago, we do not have mobile phone. Today, it is pervasive. What does the mobile phone actually represent to you? Can somebody help me here? Convenience? Would it be convenience? Easy access to communication? So these are the convenience. But more than that, when you do system thinking, right? When you do system thinking, you must think beyond that. Either for business or for social implication, you must think beyond that. I always raise this, People say it is for security, it is for communication, it is for prestige if you buy a very expensive mobile phone. But in fact, ladies and gentlemen, George Orwell is here. You have represented a unique number. Unless you got 5 phones. But if you have 1 phone, I could reach you anywhere, anytime. You have become ubiquitous. It's a 24 by 4. Today, in fact, some people say the handphone is a convenience. Some people say the handphone is a parasite. You know why? Because the handphone goes to places that your loved one doesn't even go with you. It goes to the toilet with you. It goes to sleep with you as well. Now, some people sleep with the handphone as well. Okay? So you can see, when we do applied system thinking, it is about taking it beyond to see what is at the front. The mobile phone has basically, in knowledge management, it's a one-on-one relationship. If I can tap the knowledge of your interest, I can have a one-on-one dialogue with you. Now, Ford did that. In the early days, they used knowledge management to increase their sales. How do they do that? They collect interests of people. Over the years, they collide because we all have an appetite. Some people are one brand, one brand company, one brand product. If you like Toyota all the time, you will stick to the Toyota brand, and every 4 or 5 years, you will start to change. If I can collect basically the consumer pattern, which is knowledge management, I collect the consumer pattern and I store it in my database. Every 4 or 5 years, I will come up with a product that basically will excite your appetite for buying. You can understand what I mean? So with a handphone now, today, if I can capture the knowledge that your consumer behavior, I can actually persuade you in terms of buying my product. Google does that. Why is Google free? Why Google is $65 billion? Because it is in the knowledge management business. What it does is that it collects pattern of people inquiring it. I could predict a pattern of disease taking place. Everybody asking for Tamiflu, H1N1, in a cluster of area. And this is the area that I now know that is going to create problem for us. You see what I mean? Because it's just not only maintaining databases. It is about reading about pattern. So systemic thinking is about that. It's about looking beyond and be able to tell a story of what are actual data in front of you. If you look at it at the first level, they are just data. As you know, what is KM? Knowledge management is converting data by adding context to give you information. And then you add meaning to information, you get knowledge. And with knowledge, you add insight, you actually get wisdom or actionable knowledge or business intelligence. Right? So many of us are KM practitioners. You start from the hierarchy of data, moving up by adding context. You basically get information. And then from information, you get into knowledge. You add insight into knowledge, and you get business intelligence. Right? A very good example, there are probably about 200 people here. So that's it. These are data. 200 people attending. But if I can say, and I give a context, 200 people in this hall attending a presentation on system thinking relating to KM in the stock exchange building, you are giving context. Now I'm creating information. Now if I then give basically insight or knowledge or meaning to this, these 200 people, if I want to do business, these are the people that I will target. They are from this industry who are very keen on knowledge management. Then I'm adding basically meaning to information. Now I've got actionable knowledge. I will then target these people in order to do business with them. This becomes my business intelligence. You see that? So the hierarchy of knowledge built from data to wisdom or to actionable knowledge or business intelligence is always there. So whole systems are integrated. All systems seek to move towards equilibrium. Human nature is like that. We will seek equilibrium. If we are sick, we'll go to the hospital, we'll heal ourselves in order to maintain good health. And every system seeks towards that, right? So the dimension is that we are always moving ahead. And finally, systems are dynamic. It's in a constant state of flux and evolution. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing. Because when it becomes stale, it's actually diminishing. It's actually into atrophy. So we need systems to be keeping evolving in order to be able to find new growth. Now, the other thing also is that there are three characteristics. Systems have structure. So they're defined by parts and their composition, and they have behaviors as well. They have the concept of input, process, and output. And of course, systems have interconnectivity. And the various parts actually form. And this is why there is great opportunity to basically look at synergy. The sum of the parts is greater than the whole. 2 plus 2 is equals to 5, not necessarily 4. So the concept of system thinking is that sometimes if we are able to study the relationship of each of the component parts and basically enhance those parts, you can get what we call a synergistic effect. Right? Of 2 plus 2 equals to 5. And that's why team building is very important. This is why system and processes needs to be connected properly so that you can enhance. You will get basically a better result than the total, of the output. Now, as I mentioned, this is a diagram which I've been trying to write a paper on. It's about changing the way we change. right? It's about the dynamics of system thinking. You have input, process, output, but it is constantly, it's not linear. It is basically not one dimension. It is multi-dimension, and it is moving in time. Okay? So that is the challenge. On one hand, you have this change, and it is changing like spiral, moving forward as well. You see that? So normally when we study change, it's basically in one dimension, all the study, but what you have, it is moving forward. So the art of basically system thinking is to try to be able to understand the dynamics, firstly, of the change in here, and then the change as it moves forward. All right? So, and this is where opportunities comes in. Because, as you know, Bill Gates followed this concept. When you do this type of change, it's a term called creative destruction. Entrepreneurs will know it very well. I cannot leave products or things to be constant all the time. I must destroy. Example, Bill Gates. Look at basically his DOS operating system. He started with DOS. He killed DOS. And what did he come up with? What did Bill Gates come up with? Windows. He kills Windows. What did he come up with? Vista. XP first, Windows, XP, and then Vista. So some of these people in this constant flux are always destroying their product creatively in order to create new wealth. Otherwise, they are not able to generate new wealth. So this is a concept of that. Now, in system, there are two types of system. We know there is open system and closed system. Now, we have given some notes, and some of the notes are, when we first did, are not, incorrect, but these are the real, the corrected one. Any of you who want further notes, you can actually approach Kun Tarat, we'll be able to give you some of the corrected notes. Open system, they are the one that interacts with the environment. Very dynamic, changing all the time. Like the environmental system, and also you have organization as well. Organization respond to the economy, to political change. So these are open systems which are very dynamic. Then you have the closed system. Those are the isolated system that has very little interaction. They still have interaction, but very little with its external environment. For example, a watch. Now you have EcoWatch, right? You've got those watch that basically use the solar energy, and it keeps on going forever. Now we also have hybrid car. Thailand is to be congratulated. You are pushing the hybrid vehicles, where you use, fossil fuel as well as electricity in order to drive fuel. So you are now reducing carbon emission, right? So the environmental concept, and this is a system approach. This is system thinking now. Your government is adopting system thinking to make sure whatever you do now would have basically desired consequences in the future, not unintended consequences. The problem with linear thinking, that we fix problem today, is sometimes we create problems for the future, right? So system thinking ensure that whatever you do today would have some allowances or some consideration of how it will impact the future. So now, this is an example. Let's then go into dynamic system thinking. Again, Professor Sanghi says this, and I would like to quote him. Systems thinking is a conceptual framework, a body of knowledge and tools that has been developed to make the full patterns clearer and to help us see how to change them effectively. It's like a jigsaw puzzle, Dr. Omnes suggested as well. So we can see the image clearer. And in fact, entrepreneurs use that a lot as well. Many of them not only can see a particular piece of jigsaw, they can see the whole picture before anyone else can see it. And the characteristics are as follows. They are holistic. We already talked about integration, integrated, interconnectedness, dynamics, balance, synergistic, and problem solving. Systems thinking is a discipline for seeing the whole. It is a framework for seeing the interrelationship rather than the things, seeing of change rather than the static snapshot. The looking at static snapshot is linear thinking. We fix problem where we now need to fix it, but do not take into the account the interrelationship